Welcome to Evo Biz Devo with Isis Latham, your host, your hub for personal and professional growth since 2018. At Evo Biz Devo, we bring together entrepreneurs, business leaders, and change makers to spark ideas, share knowledge, and grow together. Stick with us as we explore fresh ways to expand networks, build resources, and create lasting impact. Let's get started. I just get to have the best guests on this show. I'm really pleased that this particular episode, I get to invite you to meet Vicki Bentley from Thriving Heart Life Coaching. Vicki is a life coach, business mentor who helps entrepreneurs build businesses that feel good from the inside out. She's not here to give you some shiny sales funnel or overnight success story. She's here to talk real deal growth, starting with your mindset, your identity, and your confidence. Vicki believes in a healthy business and that it starts with a healthy mind. She takes a deeply personal and spiritual approach with her clients because success isn't just about money or metrics. It's about peace, self-love, and purpose. She's the founder of the Thriving Coach Facebook group and is passionate about helping coaches and solopreneurs build with less fear and frustration and a whole lot more authenticity. So let's give a warm welcome to the very real, very radiant Vicki Bentley.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Oh,
Isis.
well. So Vicki, I have to tell you, I was saying to another one of my colleagues today, oh, I'm going to be interviewing Vicki today. And she said, I love Vicki.
Aw,
So it's
I
getting
love that. Thank
around.
you.
Isn't it great? I think it's just wonderful
Yeah.
when we are preceded by that, right? Where people are really seeing us for who we are. They're, in the natural, in the raw, and we're just showing up and they still love us. And I think a lot of times people get worried that if they're real, that all that stuff will come out and it will somehow impact their ability to be adored. So what do you say to
Yeah.
that? How do you overcome when people feel like, ugh, I just can't let the real me out because what if?
Yeah. The inability to be authentic will keep you back forever if you let it. It's so funny, I just went on this retreat to Salt Lake City this past week. I met some of the most amazing people. Man, it was such a beautiful weekend. And one of the things that we all talked about, and one of my biggest takeaways was authenticity. Um, the lack of being authentic typically comes from something in your brain telling you fear, danger, run away. I don't like this. I don't want to be a judge. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be not received well. I don't want to be looked at as somebody inferior. Like there are all these things that come up when we feel that tension, when we're not authentically speaking up for ourselves and doing the things we really love. And that tension will manifest itself everywhere else in your life because you take action based off of how you're feeling. And just a funny personal side note. I actually had somebody send me a pretty rude text yesterday, and he was just having some personal issues, whatever. It's a total personal side note. But one thing he said to me was, I'm going to tell people that you are a paranormal professional, and let's see how seriously they take you. And I just laughed to myself because I was like, whoa, that's funny because like most people remember that I'm a paranormal girl and they love me for it and they always want to hear about it. So like people will think that you have certain weaknesses with things and like don't let them trample on you because like you're unique.
Yeah.
You're awesome. You have all these bubbles inside of you that make you you and little memories and little core things and that's the stuff to celebrate, man.
I have this guilty pleasure of watching some reality TV shows. Um,
Yeah.
I call it the easy to turn off, and so I'll put it on, for one episode and not feel like I'm going to get hooked into it. But I was watching
You
this.
have a lot more willpower than I do. That's funny.
I was watching this one about real estate agents in Manhattan last night. And watched these two agents. One was female, one was male. They were both top of their game. They're both, a little on the plastic side, let's be real. But they both showed up to pitch, and the man went first. And basically, my takeaway was that he felt very confident in sharing that confidence was his middle name. And he was big and he was
Mm.
bold and he was arms out and he was, stomping around, peacocking. And then the woman got up and she said, I have 3 points I want to make. And she did her homework. She brought all of the information to the table, and she was big and bold, but she did it with her information. And they walked away, and the man started to tear the woman down, these two real estate agents, and basically told her that she was gonna make it. She had a good thing going for her, but she was going to make it. And she was really offended by what he
Mm.
said. She's like, I've done however many millions of dollars of sales, and and she ended up winning it. And I was rooting for her because I was like, that happens all the time. Simply because she was female, she was being looked down on. She was the only woman in the room, by the way. The man who was making the decision who he was going to go with was a man. The other person was a man, the older agent who had brought them to this uh, party, we'll say. And it was just really interesting to see how it all played out. And I was so proud for her that she got it because I've been in those situations. And she totally owned her nature of who she was and what her strengths were.
Yeah.
And that was what made me think of that when you were talking about it, because once we own it, it really does become our power.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, it's funny, confidence without having the facts to back it up just lets the air out of the balloon real quick.
That's
You could
what it
talk
is.
all day about how confident you are, but bring your facts.
It's an arrogant, deflated balloon. Womp. So, what inspired you to become a coach and mentor?
Oh, big question. Okay, so growing up, I had a childhood that there was a lot of prevalence of drug and alcohol abuse in my family. Also, my mom developed cancer, ovarian cancer, when I was a teenager, and unfortunately, she passed away when I was young, when I was 18. If you had asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up as a kid, I had really no clear answer. I had no idea. I think some people are born with this little desire, like, hey, I'm going to be an electrician. I love this, and I had even gone to a technical high school to try and figure out some of that out, like gain skills in a trade. I thought that would be fun. And, at the very least, I walk away with some applicable experience for life. And, I got out of high school. I graduated near the top of my class. I was so proud of myself, but I was also a little burnt out by school. I didn't feel like I knew what I wanted to do yet. So I said, well, school is probably not the best option for me right now then. I was kind of just eager to get into work. I worked so many jobs, restaurants first, waitressing, hosting, bussing tables, doing dishes, all of the all of the hard labor jobs. And when I was starting to feel burnt out by that in my early 20s, like my body was just taking a toll. I was making good money, but I was working 13-hour days and my lunch was a cold French fry. You were lucky if you got a pee break. So I decided, I really loved waitressing because I loved the service aspect and I have a lot of energy. I drink caffeine, but I don't need it. I am like just that person, go, go, go. And so I was like, man, I really want to chill out with the type of career I want. I want the big girl job. I want to make good, consistent money. Uh, I tried car sales for a little bit, did not like that very much. Um, and then I got into a tech company because my boyfriend had been working there at the time. And it was real funny because I wanted to apply. It was an entry level enough position for me to apply off the streets. Um, And he was really upset about that. He actually said something to the effect of, well, I don't want you to work where I work because if you fail, you're going to make me look bad too. And I was like, wow, that's the most motivation ever. I was like, I'll do it just to spite him, right? So I got into tech. I did really well. Um, I eventually followed my boss to another company where I really went up the corporate ladder. I was at the point where I was managing a team of people. I was very important at this company, but to be honest, like I had been doing it for 6 or 7 years at that point, and I felt really, really emotionally burnt out. I felt like my purpose and my desire to create impact for people was just totally being ignored in my career. And I didn't want to live a whole life like just based off of what like a security paycheck and the health insurance. People are like, oh, you should stay. It's good money. Like you get the health insurance. Why not do that and do something else at the same time? Like make double the money. Like, nope, that's not for me because even though I was so privileged, like working at home, um, able to take breaks when I wanted to, have the good salary. I still honestly felt like I had a ball and chain to my desk. I felt like I had a ball and chain to the company. I felt guilty for taking time for myself, even though I had sworn that I would never work in a job again, like waitressing, that had me begging for days off, even when I was sick. And like I just really wanted out. And I didn't know how I was going to get out. But even I think just putting that into the universe aligned me with the right person to get me out of that. And that's how I started working with my life coach. I didn't really have, career was on my mind, but I didn't have the goal of being a life coach until I talked with her. And the moment that I decided to become a life coach was when during our consultation call, she's $1,000 for 6 months up front. And my jaw hit the floor. And I was like, how dare she charge me 6,000? Like, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, especially up front. And there was this little thing in the back of my head that said, if she can do it, so can you. And it really legitimized that journey for me right out the gate. I was like, if she can charge people this kind of money and she can have a successful business, so the heck can I. And so it was that day, like I called that my coaching anniversary because it was the day that I adopted the identity of being a coach and becoming a coach. And guess what? I'm always becoming a coach. That actually never stops. But being a coach, was really exciting for me and starting to actually learn the skills. And I learned it from her. I didn't go get a certification. She told me I didn't need one, right? And so why not? Why go get a certification and spend more than that $6,000 if I can put my money where my mouth is and just start applying myself? So that is where we are today. And I've been in business for over a year now and it's going well. And very proud to say I quit my corporate job on December 31st this past
Wow.
year. So
Congratulations.
freedom.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I love that. It was the day I adopted the identity of being a coach. And isn't that
Mm.
true? I think many of us work in a career for a long time before we adopt the identity of the person that we want to be in that. I definitely believe that there is role and there's identity, right? There's my role is as a financial advisor. My identity is a person who solves problems, who loves people deeply, who shows up to the table and knows that I bring value. And that's what I'm hearing in that is that you knew that you had a value and you're now aware of it.
Yeah, it's I talk about this story sometimes. I used to have this little picture in my head or video or whatever of this conceptualization that I had sort of lived by most of my life was that listen, some people are meant to be big, bright, shiny objects and like influence the masses and like do the big things and be on TV and like stand at a podium, like all the big stuff. And then the rest of us are the little ants. And the little ants, they are like small but mighty and they carry the loads and like, all the good stuff. But I realized after a while that I was so hardcore selling myself on the fact that I should be an ant, which is like there's nothing wrong with the ants. We need the ants. The ants are good. They keep the hive in, or they keep the colony in check. But being an ant was definitely selling myself short because I never allowed myself to like even consider the concept of being bigger than an ant. And when I made that switch, it was like, oh, not going back to the ant kingdom. No, no, no.
You said that a healthy business starts with a healthy mind. What does that mean in practice? And how do you help clients embody that?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, right? There's so many things we could say about this. One of the most important things that I teach, though, is in order to build a business, you have to build yourself. You build yourself, and the business will follow. Always, always, always. And if you are business first in your life, your personal life will suffer. And most people, the whole reason they get into this business and this whole field of entrepreneurship, whatever you're doing, whether it's coaching, whether it's bookkeeping, whatever it is, you're getting into it because you want more for yourself. You want more for your life. You want to spend time with your kids. You want to be able to take that vacation. You want to be able to hit the damn snooze button like as many times as you want and not feel guilty about getting up at 11 in the morning, you know? So, um, if we put the business first, always, 100% of the time, then none of that stuff ever gets to see the light of day because you become a person who is so deeply invested in the business that you forget about yourself. And like, why would we want that? So that's why I go person first. I will always call myself a life coach, even though I center myself in people that want to grow their business because I coach people. I don't coach businesses. That would be me talking to a brick wall, right? So coach the person and the business will follow.
Mhm. Yeah, when you were talking, I thought, what's a way that I kind of check in with myself and because I'm a very visual person. And how do I check in and see kind of my own health? And I was realizing that one of the ways I've been doing that is when I look at my calendar, how many times do I have ISIS off on my calendar?
Yeah.
And it used to be that it was never there. It was only if it was in response to a cancellation, or I would, find myself feeling guilty because I was going home early because I didn't have any appointments or something like that. And when I say early, I mean like 7 o'clock at night instead of 9 at night. Um, and then I don't remember when it was, but I started taking a Thursday off, a half day on Thursday. And then I started taking a whole day off on Thursday sometimes. And then I started taking every other Saturday off. And then I started taking random half days just because off.
Yeah. Just
And
because.
yeah, and I do feel like there is this, it's like I keep on moving up in the quality of life. And
Yeah.
recently, I think it was actually last night, I was thinking, gosh, I'm really thankful. I'm really grateful for the life that I have.
Yeah.
And I don't know that because your story about waitressing and working those more physically demanding jobs, right? And that don't necessarily give us the rewards that some of society gets.
Mhm.
And that I don't think I ever really paused and said, man, I've got a great life.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm really grateful for that now.
that's
And
awesome.
grateful for having people around me that call out the value in that instead of
Hmm.
just, well, you should be working harder. And if you can do that, then why aren't you doing this? Um, Before we wrap up, though, there's a question that I really want to ask you. What are some common traps that you see new coaches fall into when they try to build the perfect system before doing the
Yeah.
inner work?
Yeah, keyword perfection. Oh my goodness. The striving, the never-ending desire for perfection before you feel comfortable, comfort being the key word here, to start acting, right? And like even with your example that you just gave about giving yourself little pieces of freedom. Oh my gosh, like the sooner you can make a decision to enjoy that freedom and do it as big as you want. Like there are days that I don't even sit down at my desk and I'm still working because I'm chatting with people on Facebook. And there are times, just the other day, I brought my lunch over to my desk to sit down and eat in front of my computer. And I was like, what am
Oh,
I doing? I don't have to do this anymore. I could go down the street. I could take a walk. I could go swimming for all I care, right? Like I can do these things now and like really tapping into that decision. But can you reiterate your question one more time? Because
yeah.
I want to make sure I
Some
hit the
of
point.
some of the common traps that you see new coaches fall into when they try to
Yes.
build, and this was the key part to me, building the perfect system before
Yeah.
doing the inner work, right? I got to have the system in place and then I'll free myself up to be able to do the work on me.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people put the cart before the horse. They put the cart before the horse in a lot more ways than they need to. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have systems. Systems are important, and it's important that you're doing a bit of brain dumping and business brainstorming each week and keeping yourself mindful of how you want the business to start to look and feel, especially for your client experience. However, if you are not actively coaching and being coached on your coaching style, right? And this is where I come in as a coach for most of my clients, is first of all, getting them out the starting gate to actually do the thing that they're afraid of, which is coach, getting trial clients, turning them into paid clients, seeking more paid clients. This is all like decision-making processes each way. And if there's something holding you back from going to charge somebody money for what you do, that can be something that like really, really needs to be tended to and worked on. Because feeling comfortable does not have to mean you have systems in place. It does not have to mean you have 16 different worksheets for your clients to fill out. It doesn't have to mean any of that. Comfortability can change based off of how you're even just perceiving where you're at in your journey. And if there's something in the back of your head that says, hey, I'm not ready for this next step, it's a really good indicator to ask yourself why.
Mm.
Right? Because that indicator could be saying, "Hey, I'm just scared of making money. I'm scared of the responsibility that comes with charging people money and then having to live up to that expectation, having to deliver on the promises that I really want to make to my clients." That could be intimidating. And it will keep people held back and it will keep people spinning in the systems area. It will keep people like doing the administrative work instead of going out and networking, going out and talking to people, putting yourself on a stage or a platform where you have a voice. Finally, like you get there and you're like, I don't want it, right?
Yeah.
So like just leaning into that discomfort a little bit and looking to see what could be found there because you it might surprise you. You might find good things.
There's so much I want to say in response to that, but when we get to this point in our meeting, so if you're listening in on this, you're at Evolution Business Development, our weekly meeting at noon time on Wednesdays. And for those of you that are not present here today, you're going to miss out on one of my favorite parts, and that's the mastermind. And Vicki is going to be guiding us through this mastermind. And that's where we're going to all be able to have a voice, to show up and ask questions, to be a part of creating our own thriving community that we get to be a part of. And so before we move over to that, Vicki, my question for you is, there's two different types of people, right? And I should say there's two different phases people are in. There's the phase of, I just want to be around Vicki. I want to have that kind of energy around me. I want to hear from her. I want to get nuggets from her. They want to orbit with you, basically. How do they do that? Where do they find you? How do they participate in your Vicki Bentley world?
In my world, in my circle, there is a beautiful land I call the the Thriving Coach Facebook group. It's called the Thriving Coach Growth and Empowerment Together. And that's where I just do a lot of brain dumping in there for my people. I record myself on video, which can be an intimidating thing for a lot of people. So I encourage you all to start doing that more authentically and seeing what happens. But I record these videos for all my people whenever I have certain things coming in download form, things that I'm hearing from my clients that are challenges. I put them all in there for you guys to really just take advantage of, it's almost like a mini podcast in there some days. And then I also use that group to host totally free group coaching every week.
Oh.
So you're able to come sit with me and like actively be coached with other people, which is great because like hearing other people's problems helps you and it helps you not feel so bad about your own problems.
So true. So true.
Knowing that you're not alone is really nice. So that's the best way to hang out with me for free.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. And is it appropriate for people who are not specifically coaches, who don't necessarily see themselves as a coach role?
Yeah, coach is such a loose term in my head with things, right? Because there are many entrepreneurs, solopreneurs who are like bookkeeping, web design, marketing, and all of these things involve you getting to know your client really well and coaching them in some capacity. So if you feel that you can identify even just 10% with the word coach, come in, please.
What a great point. Now, what about the person who says, it's time, I'm ready. I want Thriving Heart Life Coaching in my life. I want to hire Vicki. They might be feeling a little bit scared by the price tag, but they know that it is time to have that conversation with you. Where do they do that? How do they enter into your world?
Yes, first, it's funny you said price tag. I will reassure you all on the call. I do not charge $6,000 for 6 months like my coach did to me. My services are what I feel is reasonable, which is a little bit less than that, but that's okay. That's my own thing. But the best way to do that is to book a consultation call with me. And probably the easiest way to do that is either message me on Facebook or you can go to my website, which is thrivingheartlifecoaching.com. And you can just go ahead and book a call.
Well, it's been a real treat to have you here. I love your energy. I love the way you show up, and I love what you're bringing to our community. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Want to be our next featured speaker? Click the link in the description to register, and let's stay connected. Follow me on all those social media platforms for financial tips to help you make your money work smarter while you build financial stability. Stay tuned for more and see you in the next one.